Welcome to Getting to Know You. This segment is the first of sort of official Getting to Know You. Soon, all of us at Stonebridge will be electing new members of the Resident Association Executive Committee. And in our short life, it's become a tradition for us to use Getting to Know You, how you meet those candidates. And sitting here with me today is Dick Kaluzny, and he has two categories in this arrangement. One, welcome to being our treasurer already at the Resident Association. And then two, that you're willing to stand for election to have a regular term because you were filling a term. So this is Meet Dick Kaluzny, both our treasurer and a candidate for treasurer. And then we'll be interviewing the other people who are running for election. Dick, I'm really glad to be able to salute you because I know that you have had experiences being a treasurer.
Well, not as being a treasurer, but being in treasury.
That's right. And you watched over revenue, which is something that the Resident Association would like to have more of, as well, of course, watching the books and spending. But you and your wife Lorna are rather new to Stonebridge, right?
Right. We moved in May 10th of last year, and have got settled by the end of the summer because we spent July in Wisconsin as we normally do. So it was towards the end of the summer that we were settling in, and when I was approached to consider joining the executive committee.
Fulfilling a term of someone
yes.
who had been there and had to resign.
Right.
And so word had gotten out why you were gone.
I'm not sure who to blame, but I have a couple of good suspects.
Well, you've lived in the Princeton area, and so you probably knew some people here before you came. And I think your wife has gotten involved in the library, Lorna?
Library and the book club, and we both were on the garden committee, watering stuff in the fall, outside plants, and trying to be active.
Right. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what it means to be treasurer of the Residents Association. What kind of a budget and what happens?
Well, basically it's a matter of can you balance a checkbook and then translate the checkbook into a spreadsheet that is can be electronically distributed to the people, and you can look at various things. So there's about 6 or 7 transactions a month, either money coming in from, for instance, the plant sale in the greenhouse, or from somebody having some work done in the wood shop, and then they will make a donation. And I take those and put them in the bank account. And if there are expenses that come up, either for program activities, honorariums, or to pay for plants that we sold, I cut the checks and give them to the proper people, and that's basically what the job entails. I make a report every month to the executive committee to say that it balanced and we're doing fine.
I guess we should give a little credit to the country store, because that's really the source of a lot of the revenue. The budget is what, maybe about $10,000?
Yes. And you're right, the country store is the biggest source of income, and it's used to support programs, committee activities, and then we make significant donations to charities, Stonebridge Foundation, Affordable Housing, and Food Bank. We support the Montgomery County EMS services and Fire Corporation.
They come here a lot.
Anything that where the residents benefit, or we can put our name out in public and say, hey, we're here, and we appreciate your services.
I think this year I saw some pictures of Little League players. Is this the first time that we supported a team?
I think last year they started that when Tony was the president, the treasurer, and he started a number of those things.
Well, it's fun to know about those, and I'm glad that we had this chance to say that the treasurer really is active. But you've been active in something else, and I think of it as both being a credential for this job, but also it's another chance for me to pay my appreciation to you as one of the people in New Jersey's government that is really respected, and we were lucky to be part of a group that cared about government, that thought about what could be different, and got together once a month, I think, for some not so great sandwiches for supper, where ideas were shared or concerns raised among people, just sort of not in the fun of it, but in a very casual way.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you. But I don't remember exactly what title you had, but I thought of you as being in charge of revenues in the whole state of New Jersey.
No, far from it. I was the chief of the Office of Revenue and Economic Analysis. I came in October of 1986 with the expectation that the first 5 years would be very interesting because I had never worked in revenue before, and then I could make it interesting for a couple more years. Well, it turns out I stayed 22 and a half years because I found it very interesting, and it was an enjoyable job, and I loved going to work every day, and it's an important part.
I think that people just take it for granted that we pay our taxes and fill out those little slips and so on, and it comes in and somebody sort of counts it. But it's really, that job is a very important one in terms of the public process that we are required to go through. The governor could not do a budget message to tell the legislature how much money he thinks there is in New Jersey to support state government if he didn't have a pretty good handle on both what's there and what might be coming in. So.
It's actually quite an elaborate process, and I was a small part of it. But the budget process, I can summarize, is really an annual thing, and over a period of 12 months from July through July of the next year, we prepare and do revenue estimates for 2 fiscal years, the one that we're currently in and the one that'll be coming up a year from now. And we update those revenue forecasts about 4 times a year because a lot of the income, or most of the income, comes in through income tax, sales tax, and corporate business tax. And all 3 of those, which is about 73 or 74% of the revenue that the state depends on, have a quarterly cycle. They have estimated payments in June and September and December.
A lot of us know about that.
A lot of people know about that. And so you have a couple of months in July and August when it's not very interesting, and then suddenly you get a big rush of money in September, and the same happens. So whenever the estimated payments come in, you have new data, and you go and sharpen your pencil and think about how things are different and where things are heading. And so we wind up doing estimates for an 18-month period, but we update it about 4 times during the course of those 18 months. So it's in one sense it's easy, in another sense it's not, because as I have often told people somewhat facetiously, I had the greatest job in the world, because I would walk into a room of people and say, I can only guarantee one thing: I'm going to be wrong. And they still paid me and invited me back, because
And don't you have to take into consideration sort of economic trends? Or
yes.
pay attention to?
No, we monitored the economic trends as well, but economic trends are sort of the chorus music, as it were.
Right, yeah.
It sets the overall environment, and actually the economic data is always late. It's after the fact.
Right.
The income tax, the revenue collection data is immediate. Sales tax, individual income tax payments and whatnot, that tells you what's happening now.
Right.
So in many ways, it's a better indicator of what's happening in the economy than the actual economic data.
I have to explain this very often to people. And in very simplistic terms, if you looked at this pie that we have here, the sales tax, which you watch, the income tax, which you watch, and then the corporate tax,
right,
which you watch, you can see is practically the whole pot.
73 or 74% of the pot is from those three taxes.
Yeah. And in collecting those taxes, a very small part goes to supporting government.
Yes.
In New Jersey, like even the prisons or the parks and so on is what, 10%, 12%?
Yeah, something like that. They're the executive operations, I think, and they're like 9 to 11%.
Right. But these that you've been watching, the revenue you've been watching, it really is something that everybody in New Jersey should be concerned about, because the state just sends it back out.
back to the municipalities. It goes to the what is it, 567 municipalities?
Close.
Because
I think it's constitutionally, the income tax
is dedicated
to sending back, and it's supposed to be moderating, let's put it, the property tax.
It's property tax relief in all forms, either offsetting potential increases in the property tax or as direct payments to homeowners and under various kinds of programs. And some of the sales tax money goes to the same process.
It helps colleges, hospitals, I guess it does. There's a wonderful book that has in front of them called The Budget in Brief, but you can see the budget. The book is pretty heavy.
Every year there's a budget in brief that comes out, except it's not that brief. It's but it really is interesting because it has a lot of numbers and charts, but it also has narratives. It explains what's going on.
Right.
And things like grants and aid include property tax relief programs, Medicaid, pharmaceutical assistance for the aged, and support for higher education.
Right, yeah.
State aid, which is another category, of about 39% of the budget, includes education aid programs, municipal aid, property tax relief programs, general assistance, and aid to county colleges. So these are not exactly state operations. They're local operations that affect people directly.
Right. And that means that the legislature is watching what you project, because it's not just the governor that puts the budget together, but the legislature actually has to introduce or adopt the budget. And they want this money going out.
Right, and they have an office very similar to the office that I had in the Office of Legislative Services, who do revenue forecasting and tracking the revenues. And we get together during the budget hearings, and they present their view, we present our view, and then we sort of, the politicians duke it out in negotiations.
Now, how much was the budget, this little pie chart altogether when you were there?
When I was there, it was 31.9 billion.
Okay.
And according to the budget in brief for fiscal '24, it is now 53.8 billion. But what's interesting is I was telling you earlier, the proportions of what we're spending in terms of state aid and grants in aid, it hasn't changed at all.
Say, I mean, the percentage that goes back to property tax relief of the budget is the same.
The same. It was 74% in fiscal '08, one of the last years that I was there, and it's 73.8% in the upcoming year. Debt service is 6% in both periods. So the budget has been remarkably stable, and the same with the income sources. The big three sources when I was there was 73%, and in fiscal '24 they'll be 74%.
So now we know a little bit about New Jersey finances, and we know a little bit about Stonebridge Resident Association finances. I think that's pretty good for getting to know you. And and just a brief thing, Dick, you were also involved in research at Mathematica, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
And sometime we'll have to talk about your experience in New York City for 5 years, but not
a
today.
learning experience.
That was before New Jersey.
That was before New Jersey.
So yeah, that was good to get that part of the experience out of your. But thank you for being our treasurer, and thank you for running. I always thank candidates for running. If we didn't have somebody to choose, we couldn't have a democracy. So thanks so much. And
my pleasure.
We'll look forward to hearing from you again up in the large auditorium, not down in Trenton. Okay, so listen again, folks, but for now, we hope you enjoyed this introduction to treasuries here in this building, but also have a better sense of your state. So tune in again.